Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carruth Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2018 action thriller movie titled The Girl in the Spider's Web. Now, The Girl in the Spider's Web is, I guess you could say, a part of the Millennium Universe, which originated in the late 90s, early 2000s by an author named Stieg Larsson, who wrote a series of books, based off of such novellas like The Girl in the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. I think there was two other ones too, and then he passed away, and then another author kind of like just picked up and left off from where he started. You know, and eventually they would adapt into a TV series in the late 2000s. The ones that starred Rapace or Numa Rapace. I don't know. I can't pronounce her name. Anyways, yeah. And then in 2011, you had the TV series from the original Swedish TV series eventually materialized into a feature-length movie, which of course starred Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara. But here we see a complete new makeover, new cast, new characters. But the question we want to know is, does new actually make things better? Well, let's soon find out. The running time of this movie is an hour and 57 minutes long. It is directed by Fede Alvarez. It is produced by Scott Rudin, Eli Bush, Ollie Sonberg, Soren Stermoss, Amy Pascal, and Elizabeth Cantillon. The script was written by Jay Basu, Fede Alvarez, and Stephen Knight. It is based off of the novel The Girl in the Spider's Web by David Lagercrantz, based on the characters by the late Stieg Larsson. The composer is Rocky Banos, the cinematography by Pedro Luque, and it was edited by Tatiana S. Rigel. And the stars of the movie are Claire Foy, Severir Gudnason, Lakeith Stanfield, Sylvia Hooks, Stephen Merchant, Vicky Creeps, Claes Bang, Sanovi Makoti Lund, Cameron Britton, Andrea Payek, Mikael Piers Brent, and Volker Birch. To say that this addition to the Millennium Universe was bad is definitely a major underscore in my point of view. This movie I just couldn't really fully get invested in. Even the aforementioned Dragon Tattoo has been altered over the years, making it seem less scary from each movie adaptation. In the Swedish adaptation starring Noomi Rapace, the heroic character Lisbeth Salander has a dragon tattoo situated on her back, and the long claws are itching for a battle. In the David Fincher version starring Rooney Mara, the dragon is located on her left shoulder with the wings folded and the long scaly tail going down her back. But in this latest version, under the direction of Fede Alvarez, the dragon is located on Salander's back. Its wings spread out like a hungry baby bird waiting for food or wanting food from its mother. The bird reminds me of this addition to the Millennium Universe. This movie is purely anticlimactic and quite generic. I think the problem was it wanted to try to take itself out from the original concept of the girl with the dragon tattoo and do a new spin. But like I've always said before, sometimes new doesn't always make it better. And this is unfortunately how I felt about the girl in the spider's web. You expect something to be like more or less a suspense type of mystery movie. All of a sudden, it's transformed itself into an action thriller without the nuance, without the subtlety, and just practically just have yourself what you would call maybe something around the lines of like a female version of James Bond. Practically taking down bad guys without remorse, and pretty much, going from doing the traditional global hopping and, just doing the whole spy espionage formula that made James Bond such an iconic franchise character. I think the problem was it was trying way too hard to be different, and it somehow fell flat on its back. British actress Claire Foy takes over from Rooney Mara as Lisbeth Salander, who seems more buffed up than the other installments and resembles more like a bounty hunter assassin rather than a computer hacker. I'm sure she does do her bits of being a prodigal computer hacker genius, but here this movie doesn't quite exhibit the computer hacking genius in her. Instead, she's been now relegated to a vigilante who goes out on a mission to take down abusive men. I don't know whether it's because she is fighting for against the forces of evil, abusive men, or just has a complete disdain of the male race and that any creature who's got a penis attached to them is evil. But I don't know, maybe not to that kind of extent. Just really bad, abusive men is, I think, what she's really, what she's really, who she's really targeting here. I guess if you're an average good person, she'll pretty much leave you alone. But if you're abusive towards a woman, or if you are a bad person, particularly of the male persuasion, she will hunt you, she will take you down, and she will show no apology, sympathy, or remorse for her action. She has now gone from a computer hacker to a vigilante, a ambassador for abused women. And sure, she's still getting into people's personal files and hacking through the system, but now she's fully upgraded to a tough person fighting criminal minds and toxic males. At times, I feel it's like Salander is acting into her inner James Bond. Yes, this movie felt like a James Bond movie, but instead of a male character, we have a female version of James Bond, and that's how the movie kind of like has been bogged down to. I mean, maybe we probably will never get a female James Bond, so I guess this is probably as close as you will get. I know everybody has been petitioning to try and, make James Bond into a female, but let's face it, James Bond has been a franchise character since the early 60s. It might be too little or too late to do the whole gender switch. But if you're going to see almost like a gender switch James Bond, well, you do have the girl in the spider's web. In a way, it is deeply pitiful that they had to take a relatively original character and had to transform her into some modern day female characters we've seen over and over again. You know, scrawny little ladies able to manage to kick big, strong, muscly guys without a single scratch. If you've seen her, you've probably seen a lot of these strong, independent enforcers who enforcers who are practically unbeatable. And, at times it tends to get a little bit generic because she's pretty much not any much different than these other strong female warrior type characters who can overcome the gods beating men bigger than her with the greatest of ease. To be fair, Salander is not necessarily generic when it comes to her hacking capabilities or the fact that she has the super strength and can beat down men nearly twice her size. But the thing what makes her character so bland is the constant in-your-face modification of tough female tropes that we've seen many times before. It's like she's just not any different than any other Mary Sue that we have seen in movies time and time again. And I'm not trying to be toxic, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything like that, so calm yourselves down. I'm just making observational points here. I'm not trying to stand on the anti-woke bandwagon. You want to create original characters? I mean, go ahead. But I just think that the original Girl in the Dragon Tattoo version of Lisbeth Salander is original in itself. We don't need another one of these tough, strong female vigilantes because it's been rubbing in our faces for quite a while. I mean, you think of all those movies that has Ruby Rose in it. You know, I mean, we've seen a lot of these girl power themed movies. And the question we want to know is, do we want another one? Somewhere down the line, yeah. But it just doesn't have to be all the time, and it does not necessarily gotta be rubbed in every person's face. I mean, we get it. I mean, the thing is that she's just a walking stereotype of buffed up, merciless, one woman army with an attitude to boost. And sure, the Girl in the Dragon Tattoos, uh, Lisbeth Salander, has a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. But here she's just gone to full blown proportions here. And it just sort of provides kind of a bit of a lack of character development or just a lazy character development in that it just now sort of just lacks in terms of originality. Her role is truly a slippery slope, being that she's both scary but not evil. She's not guilty but not all that innocent. She may not be masculine, but she's not fully feminine either. She's basically just a whole everything in between type character. I mean, that's kind of the impression I get. She's just trying to appease to both the male and female demographics in between. They want her to be flawed, but not too flawed. They want her to be scary and intimidating, but they still don't want to put her in the category of evil because she is a protagonist. She is defending the world. She is trying to sort of be like a superhero without the cape and the wings. She might be playing a protagonist, but she's not the cookie cutter type. I mean, she'll probably save you, but she's not asking for adulation. And though she's not trying to be like a boy in girl's clothing, at the same time, she is not assuming any kind of feminine traits either. Oh, I know, I'm probably gonna get condemned of being a sexist just even saying those words, and I'm probably gonna get trashed at. But I don't mean it in any kind of way that is demeaning or mean spirited. I'm just observing. I'm just a very observant individual. And of course, I may be wrong, and you can prove me wrong. But in the end, I don't feel like I am being wrong in that analogy. So the idea to have a character that's both female and male to try to promote an in between character to appease both genders. Like I said, the concept is not entirely bad, except that it has been done many times before, and at times it just seems to get monotonous. It just kind of looks like Foy herself doesn't seem to match the other roles that she's played before. And I praise Claire Foy for putting the efforts in creating a new twist of the character of Lisbeth Salander, but at the same time, she is still inferior compared to the TV series with Numa Rapace and Rooney Mara. She's still just not at their same level, which is a shame because she does quite well for herself. But it's just that I don't know. She just probably doesn't feel as comfortable. I mean, I will say that she does seem to want to tackle different roles, and that she doesn't just want to be stuck or bugged into just playing period piece stuff. I'm glad that she wants to try out for more different, more challenging roles. But even I just can't say she just still does not measure up to Numi Rapace or Rooney Mara. And to say that it was her fault why this movie is so bad is unjustified. And I'm not putting her down in any way. In fact, I actually respect her. She does put the good effort in. There are other actors too that did quite well. Lakeith Stanfield actually plays more of a prominent role in this movie than, you know, Mikael Blomkvist, who was supposed to be like the secondary lead. But basically, he is practically given very little to do. Like the Keith Stanfield's character, Needham, I think is his name. He actually seems to have a lot more airtime and seems to be much more prominent in this role and has a much more stronger support than Blomkvist himself. I mean, Foy, like I said, she is a great actress, as we've seen in the Netflix series The Crown, where she plays the young Queen Elizabeth II. Shows that she's always up for new challenges and proves to be one of the more versatile performers out there. In this movie, her subtlety is concealed, and her efforts of doing a Swedish accent can still impose traces of her English accent, and that we can blame that on the filmmakers. I mean, okay, she does um, a bit of a good effort to try to impede a Swedish accent. It's not exactly an easy thing. I mean, it is very difficult to try to do the Swedish accent. I think this is the closest that I can come to this accent. I believe that a lot of the Swedish they do tend to speak sort of a bit like the way that I am speaking right now. That's kind of like how a real actual Swede sounds. You know, like I was just putting on a Swedish accent, and you know, that's kind of like what a Swedish accent is like. And maybe even I might have done a bit of a bad job, but maybe that's about the closest. Okay, all right, fine. She's doing a Swedish accent, but at least we'll say one thing: she's not going like in full goofiness, you know, like the Muppet character, the Swedish Chef. But still, you know, sometimes, you know, like I said, it is a difficult accent to try to muster. And I know she took a lot of courses to try to emulate the accent, but still, every so often, she just breaks into her British accent once again. And so then we end up having sort of like a Brighton Swede type accent, you know, that you would sound like if you were from a British father or a Swedish mother or somewhere in between. Or that she balanced life between living in England and living in Sweden. That's kind of like where her accent seems to somewhat rest. Now, I'm not saying that it's a complete abomination, but if you are probably of Swedish descent, you'll probably might find that can be at times very, very annoying. Or you could just simply sit back and laugh and not be annoyed. Hey, the choice is yours, to each their own. And of course, you know, there is really no reason to blame all of this on the novelist Stieg Larsson, who originated the Millennium series. Of course, you're not going to really blame him too much. I mean, you know, sadly, he passed away in 2004. And the novel was taken over by David Lagerkrantz, who made two more stories in the franchise, who felt that this character was just too fragile to fully evolve into womanhood. I mean, we can kind of understand where her backstory is and why she turned the way she was. I mean, you know, after all, you know, she and her sister were abused by their own father. And instead of, you know, turning back to rescue her sister, she just practically ran away and made it her mission to take down all abusive, toxic men out there who abuse their wives, who abuse people around them, and to just put them in their place without the care of any serious repercussions that come with that. And of course, you know, there is the twist and the revelations that seem to also come into this movie. But in the end, even that too was anticlimactic. And the final climax where it was revealed that, you know, the mastermind behind all of these shenanigans was all done by her vengeful sister, who felt that she let her down because when the time came that she needed to be rescued, Lisbeth was not around. So then she takes it upon herself, and then in the end, she just eventually jumps off a cliff and plunges to her death by suicide. It's just very, very anticlimactic. To me, it felt like a James Bond movie without the climax. As a spider, she is like a black widow who will lure these bad men into her webs and keeps them there hanging upside down until they confess their action, all for the sake of feminism. But after that, it's just a tangled web of her being both the predator and the prey as she deals with a lot of stuff, including family issues, cracking codes, and dealing with some of the most deadly secrets on Earth. So, although this movie does succeed in keeping it busy, it just does not add any kind of real formula to this movie, making everything sort of like stereotypical, cliche, the atmosphere not very interesting, and the final climax is just really anticlimactic. And it just never fully recovers from itself, unfortunately. So, when all said and done, would I recommend this movie? I don't think you really need to see it more than once. Would I recommend this movie, like I said? Probably, but not necessarily expecting anything gravitating. So, because of that, if I was to give this a scale out of 10, I would give The Girl in the Spider's Web a 5.5. It tries, but it just does not succeed. So, I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules: be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Carrot Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.